Master. Okay, right. Yeah. So there's no need. Right. 3, we're just not one. So just as a quick review, you should remember what a quadratic is, right? Right? You should remember that generally a quadratic looks like this. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus. Remember that? Yeah. Right. So a quadratic has two main shapes. It could be a minimum or it can be a maximum. Right? And then these 2 points, when it cuts the x-axis, so you see when it cuts the x-axis here and here, this is called a root. Same thing here. These are called roots. So we're going to investigate a little something about the roots, right? So the roots are where it cuts the x-axis. So I'll put that here for you. Cuts x-axis. All right? So we're going to learn a little bit about the roots. Right? And I want to show you something, right? So if the roots, that's these values here, if the roots are alpha and beta, right? Let's just make up some numbers for them, right? I want to show you something with the roots. Do me a favor now. Go to your calculator and solve this, please. Go to your calculator and solve that. Tell me the two values again. Everybody can do that, right? Right? Go on your calculator and solve that for me. Do right yet, do right yet. The no thing complete. Go take calculator and solve that. Well, you know that. Yeah. What you got? What you got? Give me the fraction. 1 and minus 4 over 10, right? Which is minus 2 over 5. All right. So those are the two x values that you got, right? These are the roots. Are you okay with that? Right? Those are your roots. Roots means this is where it cuts the x-axis. You okay with that? Right. I want to show you something, right? Tell me if you recognize anything. Right? So if I take, well, it's sure, right? 1 and minus 2/5. Yeah. So if we take 5x squared minus 3x minus 2 equal to 0, and we divide it by 5. Watch what will happen, right? You'll get x squared minus 3/5 x minus 2/5 is equal to 0. Right? And watch this here. If we also add the roots, so if we add the roots, we add in these two roots, right? If we add 1 and minus 2/5, we get in 3/5. That's okay. And if we multiply the roots, what would we get? If we multiply 1 and minus 2/5, we'll get minus 2/5. You'll recognize these two things in here. Yeah. So if you watch closely, right? Whenever you add the roots, you end up with same value but different sign. Whenever you multiply the roots, you end up with the same value here. What does that mean? What that means is you remember quadratic is always what? A plus b, sorry, ax squared plus bx plus c. What you see it. So if the roots are alpha and beta, whenever you sum the roots, you're always going to get minus b on a. Whenever you multiply the roots, you're always going to get c on a. Right? So these two things you can see it in. Right? And one last thing that I want to recognize is that if you watch this closely here, and I want to color, right? If you watch this closely here, a quadratic can always be written like this: x squared minus the 3/5 is the what? Summand. Plus minus 2/5 is the product. So if I give you the roots of an equation, if I told you that these are the roots, all you have to do is sum them up, multiply them, and put them in here, and you get back quadratic. So by just knowing the roots, you can work backwards and figure out the quadratic. Right? So this is something general that we can say about the quadratic. It always can be written like this. You okay with that? So when they talk about roots of an equation, they want you to know this. They want you to know that the sum of the roots is always this, product of the roots is always this. All right? And you can see it here in this example. Right? And by knowing the roots, you could create quadratic. All right? Or you could get back the original. All right? Copy it out. Copy that down there online. What are you writing online? Right, so I just write down some things here, right? We know a quadratic ax squared plus bx plus c could also be written like this, x squared minus. You write this back here, you already have this. I just leaving it here as a summary of today, right? Morning, come now. All right, so nice. So how are we using this now? Right? One thing I showed you here is that we can take the roots and we can clear this. Right? Then I show you some other things that we can do, right? Actually, let's start here. Find the equation. Find the equation whose roots are x is equal to 1, x is equal to minus. So we can find those ones. So we can find that equation. Find the equation whose roots are x is 1 and x is minus 2. So come in here and let's see what you get. Page anything? We now start us, right? Let's leave a page out now and let's start there. You write the next there, right? Yeah? What do you write down? Next there, let's see. You have to find the sum of the roots and product of the roots. Right, so I want you to find, these are your roots, right? These are your roots here. So I want you to find sum of the roots. I want you to find product of the roots. And once you have that, plug it into the equation. And then I want you to substitute in there x squared minus the sum of the roots by x plus the product of the roots. Are you done? That's it. That's the way you'll get it equation. Right? So sum of the roots says 1 plus minus 2. Product of the root says 1 by minus 2. So just put them in here. Sum of the roots is minus 1. Product of the roots is minus. So I got x squared plus x minus 2 is 0. Right? Do one favor now, just plug it in the calculator and see if you get the and see if you get the answer. Yeah. This up, yeah.
Yes.
Look here, let's put this in the calculator now. Put this in the calculator and see if you get these values here. Check it and make sure, right? Right, oh yeah, that's too good. Yeah, put on your other one. Yeah, this. Right? You can probably go to school and ask them and ship it for one of them business and work there. Advice from Telegram, talk about how to take it for treat the body that. Right, but you can try something like that. So on the miss is this, right? If you have a quadratic and you solve it, you tell the roots. Right? Remember that? So if you have the roots and you find the sum of the roots and product of the roots, you can put it back into this equation and get back the original quadratic. Right? And well, and this will take it. So you can keep out a page and then write this and look at this. Yeah. Right, let's change it slightly. Take one more with some fractions, not because if it's fractions, what I would do with this equation to make it look nicer. We don't want the fractions, right? But what you'll do with this equation to make it look nicer. Multiply everything by 5. So multiply everything by 5. Okay, so I'm gonna give you one with some fractions now and do the same thing now. Right, the roots are given you the roots and find the equation, right? The roots are x is equal to minus 2/5 and x is equal to 3. Right up. Find the equation with roots are. Simplifies all the way, yeah? I simplify all the way, right? And just changing up this a little bit. Playing back the values here, right? This is 3. This is minus 2/5. We're gonna find the sum of the roots, product of the roots, and then put it in here. Right? So the sum of the roots will be minus 2/5 plus 3, right? That's what? That's 15 on 5. So that will be 13 on 5. I'll leave it as a fraction, right? So it's easier to work with. And the product will be minus 2/5 by 3, which is minus 6 on 5. Right? So product of the roots is 13 on 5. And sum of the roots is 13 on 5, and product of the roots is minus 6 on 5. That's good? Well, I get those values, right? So as I said, I'm working with the I'm working with the fraction, right? Right? Nice. Let's multiply everything by 5. And you will end up with 5x squared minus 13x minus 6 is 0. If you solve this quadratic, you're supposed to get it. Right? Everybody okay with that? Good, Jen? Catch up? Catch up with this? What I want to do? Sure. Right? Online, hello, okay? Amelia, you got this? Nice. Let us continue. Right, we're coming back to examples on this just now. Right, but we want to try to use this now. Right? Sum of the roots is minus b on a, product of the roots is c on a. All right. All right. Watch here. I'll do this for the example for you, right? So how do you find alpha plus beta? Right? So this is the quadratic I gave you, and I told you that the roots of the equation are alpha and beta. All right? How do we find alpha plus beta? Alpha plus beta is minus b on e. That's okay? Alpha plus beta is minus b on e. So that will be minus b over a. Right? We know what a is. We know what b is. And we know what c is. Right? So alpha plus beta is minus b on a. So that's minus 6 on 3, which is 2. Right? What is alpha by beta? Alpha by beta is c on a. So that'll be minus 9 on 3. Everybody clear it up? Yeah? How would I get this? How would I get 2 alpha plus 2 beta, Adrian? How would I get 2 alpha plus 2 beta? I know what's alpha plus beta.
Minus b over 2a.
2 minus b. Okay, all right. Which is technically what? Okay, that's what.
What?
Yeah, go ahead.
Minus 2b over 3.
Right. And that's close, but remember this. 2 to cancel.
Oh.
Yeah, close it. You have to Michael? You have a guess? Double the value, right? So you just multiply this by 2.
Oh.
Right? So if you multiply alpha plus beta by 2, you'll get the answer, which is 4. Right? That's okay. What about 4 alpha beta? What will that be?
That will just be by 4.
So it will be alpha beta. Alpha beta is minus 3. So it will be 4 alpha beta, which is 4 by minus 3. That's okay? What do you think this one will be? Alpha plus alpha squared beta squared. What do you think you'll get this? Anybody? Or you think you'll get alpha squared beta squared? Very good. So you can take alpha beta and multiply it by alpha beta, and you'll get this. So you'll get 2 by 2, which is 4 again. Sorry. I meant minus 3 by minus 3, which is 9. Now for the one, now for this one. Anybody? How are you going to get alpha squared beta plus alpha beta squared? How are we getting that from this? You'll recognize everything comes from this. right? Everything that you find here comes from these two. How do I get alpha squared beta plus alpha beta squared? Anybody online can answer as well. Factor out what? Do I remember you get a factor out the same thing? You had a factor out the same thing from both of them. What these two have in common? Alpha beta. So if I factor out alpha beta, what would I be left with here? If I factor out alpha beta, what would I be left with here? Can we easily find this now? We know what is alpha beta. Alpha beta is minus 3. We know what is alpha plus beta, which is 2. So yeah, that's what? Minus 6. That's okay? I don't know what she's looking for, you know. You pay attention. All right. Everybody okay with that? So sometimes what you have to do is take what they give you and put it in terms of this. All right? Copy it down. And you'll try one for number. Try that. Time and let's see if we can find 6. Wait, a number this thing wrong. Oh, they'll fix it, man. A number is bad. All right, take it out. Go fix it. So I wanted to find 1 on alpha plus 1 on beta. And method answer. Yeah. Online message answer. Let me think again. Yeah, to figure out how to simplify this to make it. Think of what you normally do whenever you have fraction. Right? So, where you come up with? What you would normally do if you have fractions and you want to turn them into one fraction? What you would normally do? Find the LCM, right? So, how you find the LCM? Multiply alpha by beta. And then multiply, well, beta by 1, alpha by 1. Recognize this? Sum of the roots, product of the roots. That's the answer. Right? That's the answer there. And last part, I'll combine that now. Right? Last part. Here's what I want to do. Here, I want you to find an equation given these two values. Right? But here's what I'm asking you now. Right? I would like you to find an equation whose roots are, I use the magnets, 1 on alpha and 1 on beta. Right? So instead of giving you numbers, Adrian, so I'm giving numbers there. And when I gave you the numbers, what did you find? Sum of the roots and the product of the roots. I'm not giving you numbers this time. I gave you these two variables. See if you can find back the equation whose roots are this. All right? Try that for now. But okay with 6? But okay with this one? 6? Right? All right. Try 7. 5. Try 7. All the rest will be easy after this. This is the hardest thing left. Try 7. Right? And the hint is you have to go back and do the same thing here. Find the sum and find the product. Take your time, try to find the sum of the roots. Remember the roots are what? 1 on alpha, 1 on beta. What was the answer for this? Adrian, what was the answer for the sum of the roots? 1 on alpha plus 1 on beta. It's on the board still. What was 1 on alpha plus 1 on beta? 2 over minus 2. Right? Now all you have to do for yourself is to find the product. And then dump it in here. Right? Find the product and then dump it in there and we'll be done. When I pay attention,
Yes, sir.
yeah, what she answered to what? Right, so find the sum of the roots and the product of the roots. But if you find the sum already, just find the product. And you've done it. Action that should be done. So product of the roots is what? 1 by 1 is 1. Alpha by beta is alpha beta. What is alpha beta? Alpha beta is -3. So you have -1, 2. And that's it. You have sum of the roots and you have product now. So sum of the roots is -2/3. Product of the roots is -1/3. Right? And we can multiply everything by 3 to get rid of the denominator. And you'll get 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 is 0. That's the end of it. Okay. That's the way you find the product and sum. Okay, copy down. I'm going to give you a full one to do for yourself, right? Try number 4, all 8 parts. 7 parts of it. Try number 4, all the parts. Not much change, right? So it's very similar to what you just did. Right online to be nice to get some answers. I have one answer so far. Today shall send some answers, right? Alright, you're done? Paul? Did you finish? Bye. Bye, part one. Part one. Come, where's E? Come, Adrian, help me. A is what?
1.
B is what? And C is
1.
1. What is minus B on E?
2 over 1.
Right?
Minus 2 over 1.
Right. Which is 2. What is C on E?
1 over 1.
Right.
1.
What is 3 alpha plus 3 beta?
3 by 2.
Nice.
6.
What is 2 alpha beta?
2 by 1. 2 by 1 which is 3.
What is 2 alpha squared beta squared? Watch backward. Wrote it down. How you got alpha squared beta squared? Well, here you know it didn't go ask for here. Yeah. Where's 2 alpha squared beta squared? How you get alpha squared beta squared?
This one.
Just watch the last one. Same thing. Why didn't you write it down in German? Right? So all you have to do is just square this. Square this. So 1 squared. 1 squared by 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 by 2 is 2. Right? How you get this now?
Oh, I know this one. Find the LCM.
LCM, you sure?
Yeah, that's good.
This one is LCM.
Oh.
Or this one. We factor out alpha beta. And we have alpha plus beta in.
Okay.
Right? Alpha by beta, that's 1. Alpha plus beta is 2. Right? Right, good. Since we're ready for this one, what to do here?
Find the LCM of alpha beta. And that's alpha. Beta plus alpha.
Right. And what it says?
That's 2 over 1.
The answer is. Right? And now you want to get the equation. And we're done with that. right? So,
This,
huh? Wait a minute. Right? 1 on alpha plus 1 on beta, that was 2. 1 on alpha beta, that's 1 on 1, which is 1. And then we're done. Plug in 2 here, plug in 1. So the answer is x squared minus 2x plus 1 is 2. Everybody okay with that? Yeah? Michael, you reach all the way there? Okay? So nice. That's complicated now. All you really have to do, I'm going to give you questions like this, where you have to figure out, okay, how do I write this in terms of this? So that's one happen. You don't have much time again. Gracias. Down. Now find the variables. Right. Here's what I'm doing for me now. I would like you to figure out, without looking any person book next year. I just want a value. I would like a value for alpha squared plus beta squared. How we getting that? I don't like how we getting a value for that. Right, thanks for the answer, Felicia. Alexandria, nice. Just when I didn't sign it. Half a million, right? Right, let's see what you all have. Nice, I'll see some good things. Right, then we just wrap up there with this, right? I'm not sure what I can see online. And just squeeze in the answer in here. So to get alpha squared plus beta squared, yes, you're going to take alpha plus beta and square it. But there's an extra term in there you don't want. If you expand this out, you're going to get this. If you expand this, you're going to get this, but you don't want this. You only want this part. So what you just do is just minus off 2 alpha beta. And then, right? Alpha plus beta squared, alpha plus beta 2 squared, and alpha by beta is 1. So that's 4 minus 2, which is 2. That's okay. Your final answer is. All right. We'll stop there.